It's day one of training camp. Will Anderson, as he did in the spring, but maybe even more so now that it's officially here, he looks like he's gained some weight. First things first, I want to be sure everybody's safe after last week in the events here with Hurricane Barrel. Will, how did you make out during Hurricane Barrel? I'll get to it in a second. Damn it. I've been, the issues are back, everybody. Here we go. Will, how were you?
Um, I wasn't here, so I was back in Georgia. Thank God.
Yeah, we love Will, remember? So we don't begrudge him of that. He was very embarrassed that he wasn't here to share in the ordeal with everybody else. But he look, it was a beautiful day out there at practice. Will's always got a lot of energy, but I felt like everybody had a lot of energy today because it really wasn't that rough out there. But that's a key consideration when you talk about guys who have put on weight. And it wasn't a little bit of weight compared to last year. This is him explaining exactly how much he weighs right now.
Yeah, I think last year I was like 248, and about the time we got to like the Ravens game, I was just like, I just can't last. Like, I feel like I was getting tossed around. So I kind of bulked up a little this offseason, tried to keep my speed. Well, I did keep my speed. So I'm like 263 now. I feel good. Some people still say I don't even look big, so I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that could be perceived as an insult, I guess, if he doesn't look that big. Like, I don't know, he looks pretty muscular. He doesn't, but he's not. Look, it's not like he came in, he looks muscle bound and he can't move or anything. He's moving just as well as he ever has. And I remember last year in the spring, he had said he'd gotten up to 260 at some point in the off season before he realized he wanted to lose some weight. I think for Will, the thing that's unique about him compared to other guys who have had really good rookie seasons as defensive linemen is that he really just now, I think, is coming into understanding exactly what it takes to be a 4-3 defensive end in this system, where a lot of that ability to move in space and everything that he had to have at Alabama because of all the things they asked him to do, he doesn't need that. And he's a guy that likes to use the bull rush, likes to use power. And there were times last year versus some of the bigger and better offensive tackles that he'd kind of get swallowed up or stalemated. And working on his speed rush and working on some of the technique on working the edges helps offset some of that. But I think there are times where he's got a natural strength that hasn't really been developed the way a guy like Nick Bosa, who trained as a defensive end all 4 years in college, with his hand in the dirt. That I could see Will becoming a Nick Bosa type of physique. And the other part is just, okay, how well do you maintain it through the heat, through 60 snaps in a game, all of that. If there's one person that I don't worry about, like somehow losing his motor or something, it's going to be Will Anderson. But there's a dynamic sometimes where, man, you feel awesome in speed drills. You feel awesome when you're in the weight room because you're getting stronger every day. But you got to be able to sustain it through 60 snaps in a game. And I think he'll be just fine with that. The other part that I'm excited about, and he talked about this, is just him adjusting to this system.
Yeah, I would just say within the system, man, like not reading, not thinking, and just going and just being free and just playing my freest. And I think this OTA and going into this training camp, I kind of feel that like I'm more free. I know the system. I know what I can do. I know what I can't do, but I know I can be myself within the system.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. A lot of young pass rushers that are sack hungry, they forsake the run completely, and you got to pound it into them. It's almost like the same way a quarterback who can run has to have him running pounded out of him at times. Like he's got to learn, to be a pass first then run guy. Will's the opposite. Will was very conscientious and very good versus the run, which means that in doing that, especially as you're adjusting to the speed of the NFL, a lot of times you can cleaning lady. A lot of times it takes some of the pepper and some of the aggression out of your pass rush. I think that's a natural process. JJ Watt was the same way in a lot of regards. JJ was kind of uncomfortable in his rookie year, took off towards the end, just like Will did, even though Will had an ankle injury. And then in that second year, when you can just let it fly and not think and just let your unconscious take over, that's what you're hoping to get out of Will Anderson. One of you asked, and it's a very good question. Will he lose any of his speed or quickness after gaining 15 pounds of muscle? I would be surprised because his body type has always looked to me like it should be at about 265. If you ever watched him work out in college, he was doing like CrossFit type stuff and everything, which is cool. That's good. But there is a certain element of just building muscle, keeping it, and being a strength athlete that I think he's probably adapted a little bit more to. But 265 for me, it doesn't look like he's uncomfortable. It doesn't look like he's moving awkwardly or anything like that. So I'm not worried about it. Somebody asked him, and I apologize. I want to say maybe it was Sarge. Somebody asked him about how he's grown as a leader.
Yeah, man. A lot of self-evaluation, and just building my confidence and not being scared to say stuff sometimes, and being more calm, and being able to talk and stuff like that, and being able to like let my passion come out, but reel back on my passion a little bit, and just be more relaxed and calm about it.
I really like that. Just be more relaxed and calm about it. My God, that this is such a lovable kid. I just I don't I don't know if there's another human being like Will Anderson. Sometimes when I watch him, I'm like, man, wouldn't it be fun if he was an asshole though too? Because he's got so much spark in his eyes, but he's just pureness and good, yet appropriately violent when he plays football. It's everything that you ask for. It's so hard to balance all those things, and he talked about that a little bit, there, and just letting his energy come out, but not letting it go too far. And I think almost when he's talking about being willing to talk or being able to talk, I don't think it's probably with him, it's not just a matter of like being confident enough to talk to the group or to talk to guys about, leadership type things. I mean, it might simply be that sometimes, like a young Seth Payne, he gets so excited that he can't spit the words out as fast as his brain is going. It's hard, man. It's really, really hard. And I'm a professional talker, theoretically. Daniil Hunter, and what has his influence been on him? We've talked about this a lot, and Will talked about it during training camp, but there's one specific thing here that I liked.
Yeah, I feel like my focus is just less on what everybody has to say.
Apologies. This is actually him talking about how he's got a better perspective on things right now, and just how he approaches the entirety of it all. So he said focus.
And more on God. I think my biggest thing is knowing that, like I always tell y'all, like my approval comes from Him. Like He's the one that wakes you up in the morning. Like some person in somebody's basement don't wake you up in the morning. Like their opinion doesn't matter. So
Okay. For context, obviously, I didn't set that up well at all. That was him talking about how God has helped him keep perspective on things, and I cut that up a little bit. He went on. He went on for a good length talking about not a transformation. He was already a Christian, but remember last year, after he was injured, he came back and he talked about how during those 2 weeks, through conversations with people and just himself, being introspective, that he kind of put things in perspective. And again, with a guy like Will, who's so motivated and so high energy, that sometimes can become self-defeating because you start beating yourself up too much. He's talked about that before, how he's the first to criticize himself. And that's a powerful thing, just whether it's God or also family. I can remember my senior year in college when people were talking about me as a draft prospect, and I was captain of the team, all this stuff, and I was putting all this pressure on myself. And I remember just like right before the first game of that season in warmups, it just like out of nowhere, and I don't know why, and it wasn't based on a conversation or something. It just occurred to me that, oh yeah, my mom's still gonna love me no matter how well I play in this game. And I kind of, I don't know. I don't know if that's soft or not, but it's what I needed because I just kind of like instantly just relaxed. And I felt the way that Will felt when he's saying he just needs to be calm. Just releasing yourself from some of that when it goes overboard, releasing yourself from some of that pressure you put on yourself. It can be really powerful, especially I think when he talks about being calm in a 17-game NFL season plus playoffs, because playing at Alabama is a boatload of pressure. Playing for Nick Saban is a boatload of pressure, but it's compressed and you don't spend as much time at the facility in college. You're not allowed to. You don't have as many meetings. It's just not as intense in terms of the total energy you have to put out over the course of a football season. And I can just relate to Will in a lot of ways because I'm kind of a hyper dude. That that you got to learn how to pace yourself. It doesn't always have to be Latimer in the program. I shouldn't have mentioned that. Will looks very naturally 265. Okay, there's nothing that looks artificial or pumped up or inflated about him. Let's see if I actually added the one about Daniil Hunter in here.
Yeah, man, I've been learning a lot from him. He's been great. I commend him a lot just by the way he works with his hands. He does a really good job, and that's everything that he tries to do for us. Like, we do a lot of hand work, it's like karate a little bit, but like, he's so good with his hands, and he's been teaching me that a lot.
Yeah, the hands. You got to tell young kids this all the time. You can have a 500-pound bench press, but if your hands aren't good and that offensive tackle has got a hold of your jersey and he's shaking you because he's fat and angry with himself, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to get those hands off of you. So the weight room stuff is awesome, and watching motivational videos on YouTube is great. But at the end of the day, if he can't touch you, he can't beat you. And Will last year, early on in the season, you could see the infancy of him starting to work his hands, and then he got a lot better at it towards the end of the season, especially those 2 games when he came back and played injured. But that's going to be the big thing for him, in addition to all the other stuff that he's talked about this offseason, getting those hands to the point where everything's just instant. And like a martial artist, you're not thinking. You get in the matrix and you're just going. You're a kung fu master all of a sudden. So I'm going to sometimes I'm fat, and I'm with you there, my friend. I'm with you. Yeah, yeah. There's a little bit of that too. Earn my love. That's my mom. Yeah, that's what she slapped. You guys watch high school wrestling ever? You got anybody in your family that's a high school wrestler or something? Because you got a wrestling tournaments. Oh my god, they're like the thing is they're like whatever Bella Caroli or those old school Eastern European gymnastics coaches were. They're like that. Some of these parents, some of them, but they're psychotic. They're psychotic, but way less educated, and it's scary. These poor kids. They go home and they're in their parent. Okay, all right. Now I'm gonna get depressed. Back to happiness. I'm very bullish on Will Anderson, as many of you know. I'm going to react to a couple of the more of the press conferences later on, just more in their raw format, because I haven't even watched D'Amico yet. So I'm Seth Payne, played for the Texans back in the day. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend, all that good stuff. And if you are a Texans fan, which most of you are, I keep looking for reasons to be pessimistic out there at camp, and it's hard. I'm having a hard time finding reasons to be pessimistic. Until they put the pads on, until they go against others, non-Houston Texans football players, we don't know if the offensive line in the run blocking or the running back situation is going to be better. Joe Mixon looks scary. Dude's built. This is that time of year. It's like another combine almost, where we're judging people based on their appearances. So thank you, everybody. Please like, subscribe, etc., etc., etc. Sorry about the glitch at the beginning.